Hi and welcome to another episode of Delaware County Political News, Meet the Candidate. I am your host, Larry DeMarco, and today we are here with Kathi Cozzone, candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Kathi lives in Uwchlan Township with her family, Victor, her husband, and Victor, her son. Kathi has been a commissioner in Chester County since 2008 and vice chair since 2011. Kathi, thank you for being a guest on Pennsylvania Voter Information Network.
Thank you very much, Larry, for having me.
Kathi, we're filming this the weekend after the student rallies on gun control, and I understand Westchester was a big participant. Share with us what was going on in Westchester.
I am so proud of the high school kids in Chester County, and actually there were some kids even a little younger, a little older than that. I was very fortunate to be able to work with 5 really amazing, passionate, talented, dedicated high school kids to put the event on. They did all the work. Myself and Representative Committa basically did the adult stuff. We sort of helped facilitate the rally, but they did all the work. And there were literally thousands of people there, probably the largest rally in Westchester's history. I have to tell you, I'm just really proud of the kids, not just in Chester County and in Pennsylvania, but across this nation, who are really doing a job that honestly, in many ways, we as adults failed to do. I think we tried, we didn't try hard enough. I think we fought, I don't think we fought hard enough. And the kids are reminding us that we have to keep fighting. There is no reason for our kids to be scared when they go to school. There is no reason for teachers to be armed. Teachers are supposed to teach, kids are supposed to learn. That's what school is supposed to be for. We really need to do something about gun violence in this country, and we need to start by not allowing regular folks to buy military-style weapons, or at least weapons that were designed for the military to do one thing, and that is to kill. I don't think it's an infringement on anyone's Second Amendment rights. Listen, I'm not looking to take away anybody's guns, but I'm looking for common sense ways that we can make sure that our kids are safe in school, that people are safe in church, and that folks in our cities are safe when they walk down the street. The reality is there is no need for a semi-automatic weapon or a bump stock or anything that increases the ability for someone to kill someone else more quickly. We also need to look at reducing the magazine capacity for some of these guns. It's just not necessary. I was watching some of the coverage of the national marches. And frankly, I was really, really excited to see that there were some hunters in the group who were saying the same thing. I don't need that kind of rifle to be a hunter. And so I think we need to pick up this ball now as adults, do what these kids are asking us to do, and make sure that we can accomplish common sense gun control measures that are going to save people's lives.
Kathi, the kids are doing something where we've failed them. And one of your opponents who dropped out of the race made a comment about what I think the whole problem is. Campaign finance reform. Isn't the whole issue the NRA and its lobbying power? And isn't that the same problem with health care and drug prices? Isn't that really what it all comes down to?
Well, I think in a lot of ways that's true. Listen, I've never taken a dime from the NRA, and frankly, I don't think the NRA would have ever offered me one. But the reality is that there are too many organizations that have influence that really shouldn't. I would love it if mental health providers had a lobby that was as great as the NRA or the gas industry or the oil industry, because that's where we really need to be investing our money. We need to be investing our money in people so that folks can leave healthy, productive, happy lives, be a part of the community that they want to be a part of. And we shouldn't be passing legislation based on what the lobbyists with all the money would have us do.
Kathi, you are currently the vice chair of the Board of Commissioners of Chester County. Tell us about the strategic plan that you implemented and how it is still helping taxpayers 10 years after its implementation.
I'm glad to. Thanks for asking the question. So when I ran for commissioner, one of the platforms I ran on was that the county needed to have a strategic plan. And I'm very proud to say that within 6 months after being sworn in, the county embarked on exactly that. We've actually updated it once, and we'll be updating it again. But it serves to inform the goals and priorities of the county. And those goals and priorities are informed by our departments, by our citizens, and by our partners in providing services. So every employee is accountable to reach certain goals, to meet certain criteria, and every year we report on that to the public, and that can be found on the county's website. So people have an understanding of what our goals and priorities are, and how we are advancing towards meeting those goals and priorities.
Tell me about one of the new programs on the Workforce Development Board.
So I'm very proud to be a member of the county's Workforce Development Board, and I was very frustrated in 2008, 2009 during the Great Recession. So many people lost their jobs, and it was very difficult to A, find them, and B, find ways to serve people who frankly hadn't been unemployed in a long time. So a lot of people didn't know how to interview, they didn't know how to write a resume. These people had been at their jobs for a very long time, and they needed new access to job skills. What we found as the unemployment rate came down is that there were still an awful lot of people who were out of work for a very long time, the long-term unemployed. Technically, that means anyone who's been out of work, who's exhausted their unemployment benefits. A lot of those people are actually out of work a year and a half. You know, unemployment benefits for 26 weeks and then nothing. And so we struggled with how we could address the needs of the folks in that community. And some of our providers who provide services to folks who are unemployed, one in particular suggested a program that they had seen in Connecticut. It's called Platform to Employment, and we successfully brought that to Chester County. And what it is a 5-week boot camp, we call it, for folks who've been long-term unemployed to address their job skills, whether it's resume writing, interview skills, and the like, but also to address other areas where they may be in some need. So whether they're having some financial difficulties, we address their mental health. Sometimes when people are out of work for that long, they're very frustrated, they can be depressed, so we provide access to mental health services as well. And at the end of that 5 weeks, they are mentored through the process of trying to find a job. And when they are at an interview, they are able to tell the potential employer that if they were to have them participate in the job, that they would get a 6-week subsidy. And so it's during that 6 weeks, the employer and the incumbent worker can make a decision about whether or not that's the right job for them. And so we feel like it's taken a little bit of the risk out for some employers who are sometimes hesitant to hire people who've been out of work for a long time. But it also gives the folks who go through the program, it gives them a lot of their self-esteem back, a lot of confidence back, and we're proud to say that we've had a pretty successful placement and retention rate.
This sounds like a state-of-the-art program.
We think it is. It was started in Connecticut. It's been replicated all over the country, in various places all over the country. It's through an organization called The Workplace. We have a great relationship with them. We've done 3 cohorts so far, the cohort being the group of folks who participate, and looking forward to continuing the program.
Kathi, you are the first vice president of the County Commissioners Association. What is it and what work do you do on it?
So the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania is an association where the membership is entirely made up of county commissioners, county council members, county solicitors, chief administrators, chief clerks. And our role is to establish priorities every year about the things that we feel are important to counties, and then we get to working with whether it's the state or federal legislature to help us be able to achieve the goals that we need to achieve in order to be able to continue to provide cost-effective and efficient services to the people in our communities. And very often that's some of the most vulnerable folks in our community, or whether it's voting and elections. Anything that counties do, we work as an organization to establish priorities and get to work in trying to work with whether it's a legislature or another partner, to be able to make sure that we can do our jobs well.
This is a bipartisan group?
Absolutely. Every county, every elected official, and as well as the others before, is a member, and we work very well together. In fact, when I first became a member or became active in the association, for a very long time, I wasn't even sure who was a Republican and who was a Democrat. Our goal in working together is really all about good government and doing what's in the best interest of the people who elected us and the people that we serve.
Can we convince Congress to do one of these?
I would love that.
So would the rest of the country. Kathi, you served on a committee for the Joint State Government Commission. Tell us about that.
So I was very honored to be asked to participate. The Joint State Government Commission, through legislation, was asked to put together a task force that will report on or make recommendations about voting technology. The voting technology for nearly every county in Pennsylvania is at or nearing the end of its useful life. Many of the machines were purchased after the Help America Vote Act with a lot of federal funds.
When's this?
2004, I want to say. So a lot of those machines are nearing the end of their useful life, and it's a known challenge in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And so we were able to get together as a group. There were a number of us on the committee, whether commissioners and election directors and folks representing the state as well, and make recommendations based on a lot of research that was done relative to new technology, relative to what other states were doing. And there were a couple of overarching themes that were in the final report, which can be found on the Joint State Government Commission's website. And one is that any voting technology that is certified by the Department of State needs to include a voter verified or verifiable paper trail. And in fact, the governor and the secretary came out and made that an official requirement recently, sometime after the report was issued. And the other was the counties need to have a way to figure out how to fund this. So while we're not necessarily looking for what some might call a handout, there are some counties who might have the resources to be able to make that new investment in new machines and new technology, and others who may not be in the same position. So whether it's grant funding or direct funding, or whether it's the opportunity to perhaps consider no interest or low interest loans, ways in which to finance it. I believe the estimate for replacement of the machines in the entire Commonwealth exceeds $100 million. So we're talking about a very large investment. And so I was proud to be part of that committee. There's a lot of other information in that report, but I think those were the sort of two largest takeaways, at least from a county perspective.
So let's make one point together right now. They're not connected to the internet, and they were not hacked by the Russians, correct?
That is correct.
Nor could they be.
No, they can. In fact, some of our equipment right now is so old it would be impossible. And so, to your point, and to be fair, a large part of the report was focused on security, and looking at the new technology that exists, how it would be used in a way that would maintain the security, and frankly the integrity of the election.
Kathi, there's a county government work group on the pipeline infrastructure task force, and you were appointed leader of that group. Can you talk about that, please?
Certainly. I was very proud that Governor Wolf appointed me to chair the county government work group. We worked together, not just county commissioners, but there was a representative from the operator side as part of our work group, as well as some folks in planning. And our role was to make recommendations about how we could address pipeline infrastructure from a county perspective. So we made, I think in the end, 12 recommendations that were part of the larger pipeline infrastructure task force report. There were a number of other groups. There was a local government group, public safety, emergency services, and the like. We all provided recommendations that went into that report. That report can also be found on DEP's website. And there is a lot of really great information in that report. And as we continue to struggle with the expansion of work surrounding pipeline and pipeline infrastructure to support the Marcellus shale industry, we really need to stop as a Commonwealth and take a look at ways in which we can continue, or in ways in which we can protect our environment and our communities. And so there are a lot of really great recommendations in that report that could be used to do just that. And so if I'm elected Lieutenant Governor, one of the things I really would like to do is to advocate for those recommendations, or at least as many as make sense and can be done to be implemented in the Commonwealth. I do know that there are legislators who are using the recommendations in the report to inform legislation that they're trying to get passed, and I think that's great. But there was a lot of work done by a lot of people in all the different groups, and there's a lot more information there. And so I really would like to see us be able to use that information more broadly.
Overcrowding of prisons has been a problem in the Commonwealth and also the country at large. Describe your work on the CCAP Behavioral Task Force and its effect on improving recidivism rates.
Sure, absolutely. So it has been of great importance to commissioners, not only in the Commonwealth, but nationally, that our prisons have become the place where, unfortunately, people with mental illness and sometimes co-occurring or separate addiction to drugs or alcohol who've committed nonviolent crimes end up in the prison, which is the most expensive way for us to be able to treat folks in a way that will prevent them from cycling back through the system. So the County Commissioners Association decided as a group a few years ago to create the Behavioral Health Task Force, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to be a part of it. And our role was to research best practices around the Commonwealth and the nation of ways that we could reduce the number of people going into jail and recycling through the criminal justice system. So our report has a number of recommendations based on programs that different counties, like I said, in the Commonwealth or around the nation have implemented that have done just that. The National Association of Counties recently, or a year or so ago, started the Stepping Up Initiative, which is a national initiative to reduce the number of people in our jails with mental illness. Chester County is a Stepping Up county. And I'm very proud of that. And so we went to work on reevaluating the programs and the processes that we had in place to make sure that we were doing everything we could to address those same issues. And I'm proud to say that some of the programs in Chester County were included in the Behavioral Health Task Force's report, as were great work that other counties all across this Commonwealth are doing to address that issue. It's an issue that continues. In part because there are some people with serious mental illness that really need in-placement treatment, and there is a limited number of what we call forensic beds for those folks. And there are still far too many people overall in jail for nonviolent offenses, when the reality is if they had access to service and support in the community, in all likelihood they wouldn't be committing any crimes at all, and they'd be getting the services they need far less expensively than in a jail situation.
What percentage of counties have a clue and are trying to improve this type of care or implement these types of programs?
100%.
Great.
100%.
So you're optimistic on
Absolutely, absolutely. As I said, this was an initiative that was born out of discussions in the committees that make up the policy committees that make up our association, and recognized at a national level. And in fact, the Commonwealth has started to take a look at it as well. A few months ago, I participated in a statewide Stepping Up Summit, which brought together stakeholders from all over the state to work together to address the issue.
Good news.
So 100% of counties are on board with this. Look, we know how much it costs to run our jails. We also know how much less it costs to serve people in the community. And honestly, one of the reasons I'm running for lieutenant governor is because I think we understand at the county level the complex relationship between funding and the provision of services. And we understand how what the most effective, least expensive way is to be able to provide services to folks who need them, so that they can lead healthy and happy and productive lives and be part of our communities. And so that's one of the reasons I'm running, because I think the majority in the legislature doesn't really understand that. And by continuing to cut funding for programs that we provide, we are ending up either not treating people or helping people, or treating them or helping them in the most expensive ways possible.
Kathi, why should people vote for you?
Well, I think people should vote for me because, first of all, this is an executive branch position, and I've been serving in the executive branch for a little over a decade, so I understand how that works. Secondly, I have been vice chair of our Board of Commissioners since 2011, despite being in the minority, and that's because I earn the respect and the trust of my colleagues. And so I understand that Governor Wolf needs a partner that knows how to work across the aisle, and I've proven that I can do that. And also because I think leadership is greater than the job description. And we've talked about a couple of where I have sort of gone outside the direct zone of being a commissioner and worked to help implement programs and services in our community. And I know that, and I've done that at the state level through our association, and I know that I can be that partner for Governor Wolf as a lieutenant governor as well. And I'll also say this, I do believe that Governor Wolf's partner in this election should be a woman, and I'm the only woman in this race who's been elected to an executive to the executive branch of government. So I feel very confident that my qualifications, my accomplishments will serve me very well as Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania.
Kathi, we'll leave it there. And I want to thank you again for being a guest on Pennsylvania Voter Information Network.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
We have been here with Kathi Cozzone, and I am your host, Larry DeMarco. If you like this video, please share it with the people on your contact list and Facebook friends. We are signing off. Tune in next time. Bye for now.